All right. Welcome to the Social Ninjas podcast. I am your co-host, but today I am your sole host, Kyle Mitchell. What is going on, everybody? Like I said, I am your sole host today. It is just me, no guest, no Jeremy. Thank God. No, I'm just kidding. So if you've been looking, just waiting for the Social Ninjas to put out an episode with just Kyle, this is your episode. This is going to be the best for you. If not, it's still going to be a great episode. But anyways, let's get into it. So this is usually the day where we do a little monthly kind of bonus episode where Jeremy and I discuss kind of one-on-one, just some different topics, usually some stuff that's just kind of going on in our own lives personally and kind of where our mental health is at, and kind of a quick update / status of where we're at and what we're trying to do. And I love them. I think they're fun. I think they're very helpful. But like I said, today it is just me, and the reason so we just weren't able to get it together, me and him. So I thought I would just come on and I would kind of share my story. This won't be a very long episode, but I want to share my story with social anxiety and what that was like for me, and kind of how I got to the point where I am now. So I thought it'd be helpful to, provide some context for some listeners who aren't very familiar with myself or with Jeremy. I'm sure he will do one of these episodes in the future as well. But so I wanted to start there because as you guys probably know, me and Jeremy both struggled with social anxiety in the past. So I think this episode will be a good little piece of context for you to kind of see where we're, where we've been and where we are now, actually podcasting and talking to strangers. But before we get into that, I do want to talk about this past episode we just released on Monday, the bully episode, where it is Jeremy in a conversation with his childhood bully in middle school. And it's actually facilitated by Dr. Haley Watson, who we had on the podcast, and we did an interview with her. I don't know all her credentials. All I know is she has a lot of PhDs. She's a psychologist. She specializes in bullying in children and adults. So she's really good at this stuff. And man, guys, the episode's incredible. I'm not actually on it. I know, sad. But and I listened to it over the weekend. I was like, wow, this is incredible. Like, people need to listen to this. If you have ever been bullied, if you know someone who's been bullied, if you're a parent and your kids are getting bullied, or even if they're not getting bullied, it's probably going to come up at one point or another. Listen to this episode. It is incredible. It's super vulnerable, super open. This is the first time they've ever really had this deep of a discussion together, Jeremy and his childhood bully, Hassan. They even talk about when Hassan was in jail and he wrote Jeremy from jail, apologizing, and what it was like for Jeremy to receive that letter, what was going on in Hassan's head, writing that letter to Jeremy, and what was going on in his life, and what was kind of the cause of him bullying Jeremy and others. So it's a really good episode. So I encourage you, after this episode, go listen to it on the podcast. We also have a video version if you want to watch it. If you want to watch it, it is on our website, thesocialninjas.com/bully. You can go there and you can get access to watch it. It's just $5 to purchase that. You can, watch it as many times as you want, but I think the video is even more powerful because you get to see the reactions from both Hassan and Jeremy as they're talking to one another, which tells a whole other story of its own. So it's pretty incredible. So I think I got all the announcements on that I wanted to talk about. I don't know if I mentioned this or not. Like I said, we do this one-on-one podcast. I know last time we talked about specifically some kind of uncomfortable challenge that I was supposed to do in Walmart. that did happen. We will talk about it. I really wish I could talk about it right now, but we will talk about it next month. Remember, it's the first Thursday of every month. We do a one-on-one podcast, me and Jeremy. So we will do that again next month, barring no crazy circumstances. And let's get to it. So I struggle with social anxiety ever since I can remember. And honestly, I didn't know it was social anxiety for a long time. I just thought I was different. Like I just couldn't communicate the same way other people. I just thought I was the only one who felt like I did. I wasn't able to talk to people. Meeting strangers was not a fun thing for me. I just didn't have confidence in myself. I had low self-esteem, low love for myself, no confidence. And yeah, that's really what was going on. That was all kind of struck upon because of my social anxiety. But I can remember it as early as kindergarten. So I'll start from the beginning. I want to give you guys, as much detail as I can, because I think it's very powerful for you guys to hear, because I don't want you to think like I just kind of, I don't want to say skyrocketed, like I'm on some pedestal or something, but I just got to this point, like all of a sudden, like, oh, it just vanished. And now I'm just on here podcasting, talking to people. Like, no, lots of work went into this. This is a lifelong struggle, something that I still have to keep in mind to make sure that, I'm not making decisions based on, a socially anxious part of me. But going back to kindergarten, I mean, I can remember, now thinking back, of little traits of social anxiety ever since kindergarten. So I don't remember exactly like me feeling socially anxious in kindergarten a whole lot. I mean, probably because I just don't remember a whole lot of kindergarten, but I do remember one thing. And I remember on the last day of school, I was able to dress however I wanted to. So, little backstory, my parents dressed me every day for school, and they just tried to make me look good. I love you, Mom. I love you, Dad. They tried to make me look good, kind of like I was going to church, maybe a little bit less than that, but that was basically how I was dressed. And I remember on the last day of school, I was able to wear whatever I wanted. And I can tell you down to the detail exactly what I was wearing. I can just remember it. I remember I was wearing this yellow tumble bus shirt, which was some sort of like party place back in the day. And I was wearing these black kind of athletic pants. I don't know exactly what they're called. The ones that swish when you walk. And then just kind of like some like white tennis shoes of some sort. I was hyped. So I finally got to wear what I wanted. And I remember recess that day, on that last day of school, I remember a kid came up to me, Mark Stewart. He came up and he was, he came up and, asked me, hey, you want to come play this game? It was some sort of something. I don't know. It's kind of like make-believe stuff, kindergartners. But I remember just in that moment when he asked me to come do whatever this little mission game was, I remember feeling in that moment like, whoa, like they want me to come play. Like, and I remember even thinking like, is this just because I'm wearing different clothes? And it's funny, like I said, I don't remember being excluded or feeling socially anxious through kindergarten, but I do remember that. And because I felt that way, it leads me to believe that I did feel before that as well. So that's where it kind of all started. And, ever since kindergarten, I went to a very small private school. So growing up in that small private school, I had a handful of friends, 3 or 4 guys that I was pretty comfortable with. I was able to be myself around. I think the only reason I even had them was because they grew up in the same exact church that I went to, and then we all went to the same school. So I pretty much knew them, my whole life. So I was extremely comfortable around them, and to the sense where I could just be myself, like I said. But I didn't notice, all the time when I was not around them. I was in a class where none of them were in, or, I was walking down the hall, that I felt different. I just felt like I couldn't talk to people. I got extremely nervous and anxious about some things in school that just seemed completely easy and normal to other people, and I was always dumbfounded, like, why am I the only one that feels this way, man? I mean, really specific example that just popped up in my head. I remember, I don't know, first or second grade, we had to draw these pictures of some sort of historical event, and then we had to go in front of the class, and we just had to talk about it for like 30 or 60 seconds. But I remember feeling so incredibly fucking anxious about that. Like, I was so anxious and nervous about that. Like, I mean, I remember just thinking about it all morning, like just dreading to go to school and just like holding it all inside. I remember thinking, like, my picture sucks. People are gonna make fun of me. like I was really self-conscious about this drawing I made, and I was really self-conscious about me getting up and explaining this crap drawing that I made. And I eventually ended up doing it because there was no other option that was going to be any less anxious for me. Running out of the room wasn't going to help me. I do remember afterwards thinking, like, oh, nobody really even cared about my drawing. Like, in my mind, like, all this stuff was about to happen. People were going to make fun of this drawing, and people were going to make fun of me, and none of that happened. None of that happened at all. All that I got afterwards was like a sense of relief. And I realized in that moment, it was like, okay, no one made fun of me. That was just like stuff I kind of built up in my head, but I didn't carry that thought going forward. That just kind of vanished. And I approach another similar situation. I still felt the same way. I didn't revert back and think, oh no, remember when I thought this, and actually it went okay, and I was just kind of building stuff in my head. Like, no, I didn't have that insight when I was in first or second grade or whatever grade I was in. But yeah, that's what it was like for me. I mean, school presentations, God, no. Makes me think of that the episode of The Office when that little famous scene from Michael, God, no, 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 to Toby. Like, that's how I felt inside when anytime I had to get up in front of anyone and do any sort of thing about anything. Good God, no. So, like I said, small private school, growing up, I was with this private school, and I was comfortable enough and functionable enough to just keep going until I got the end of my freshman year, and my parents decided, or I remember them talking about how they weren't sure if they're going to be able to afford to send my brother and I to this private school anymore, because obviously private school is pretty expensive. I don't send my kids to private school, too expensive for me. But, and I remember suggesting, I was like, just send us to public school. I guess I didn't even think it through when I said that, but I remember saying that, and we ended up going to public school, that next year. So the beginning of sophomore year, I was enrolled in a school called Floyd Central High School. What up? Shout out. So to provide some context to what that was like for me, small private school, the amount of students that were in my class was about 50. So and then I transferred to Floyd Central, this new high school, the beginning of my sophomore year, and there was about 400 kids in my class. 400 students in the sophomore class. I mean, just my class alone was double the size of my entire old high school. So I imagine, especially if you're listening to this and you struggle with social anxiety, you can just feel what it would feel like for me going through that. Maybe you've gone through some similar situations before. And I, I mean, all the way up into the actual first day of me waiting up to that, for the school bus at the bus stop, I wasn't nervous or anxious at all. I don't recall being that way until I got at that bus stop, and then everything started just like flooding in. It was like all the reality just came in. I was like, "Oh, Kyle, you know no one at the school. You've never been to public school before. Like, you're not wearing uniforms anymore. You don't know anything about this school. You've never been to a public school. You don't even know where your classes are, really." And yeah, it just started flooding in, and anxiety was at an all-time high for me. And I get off the bus, and I quickly realize, after a few days of going to school now, that the bus drops me off like 40 minutes before the first bell rings. So, like I said, I don't know anyone here. I don't know anything about public school. I don't have any friends to like hang out and talk with before class starts. So I just get there and I'm like, God, I gotta figure out something to do, because I didn't want to be like that kid in the corner. I didn't want to be labeled as like this loner kid, or, someone who didn't have made friends. I just wanted to blend in and be under the radar. Like, that was my entire goal, was to do that, because I didn't know how to deal with this anxiety that I was feeling. I didn't even know it was anxiety. I didn't even know what anxiety was at that point. So there was no other options for me. So I devised a plan, and my plan was to walk around in circles for 40 minutes until the bell rang so I could go to class. And so, just give you a little context when I say about walking around circles, I'm not just meaning like, woo. We had these large hallways, and it was more like formed in like a square, but I would just walk these hallways up and down into like this big circle, square, whatever you want to call it. And I did that for 40 minutes every day for weeks, maybe months. For a long time. I did this for a long time, and I blended in. It worked great. I wasn't, it helped with my anxiety a little bit. I didn't feel like the spotlight was on me. I was able to just, you know, blend in, be under the radar. No one knew who I was. It's basically like walking in an airport with 1,600 other students in the class. No one knew who the heck I was. So that was working pretty well for me, until one day it ended for me. I got on the bus to get back home, and I'll never forget this girl. I won't call her name out, but she just called me out in front of the whole bus. I was like, Kyle, why do you walk in circles in the hall every single day? And I don't remember if I even replied, but I just remember the feeling I had, right? And the feeling I had was just feeling like my heart dropped into my stomach. It was just like, oh, like cringe. And I didn't know what to do. I felt embarrassed. I felt ashamed. I felt like a loser, just down as much as I could have possibly been down at that point. And so I didn't know what to do. I get into school the next day. Obviously, I can't do this plan that I usually do. I'm too embarrassed at this point. Everyone knows. And so, excuse me for the sniffling. So once I got to school, I put my bag in my locker, and I just went to the bathroom stall, and I just sat there, and I just cried the whole time. For a long time, I did this every day, and I just sat there and I cried, and I had these thoughts in my head, and I would just wonder to myself, like, Kyle, like, why can't you do this, man? Like, why can't you make friends? Like, why aren't you normal? Like, why are you not able to do what others are able to do so easy? Why is it so hard for you? Like, why is this such a struggle? Like, why can't I just be normal? Like, why can't I just be normal? That's all I wanted. I just wanted to feel normal. And at the time, like I said before, I felt alone. I felt like I was the only one who ever felt like this. And I didn't realize that this is a huge problem, social anxiety, especially among high school students, and obviously going into adulthood as well. That I was not alone. I just didn't know I wasn't alone. So that's part of my mission as well. And telling you this story is, man, if you're feeling it, you're not alone. But like I said, getting back to it, you know, I'm I would just started crying every day. I, I I didn't know what to do. I mean, I didn't know who to really talk to. I didn't really want to talk to anybody, but honestly, it just got to the point where it was just like it was unbearable for me, like to just continue going on. I mean, I still had 3 freaking years until I, graduated high school and was out of this hellhole as I interpreted it at the time. And so I went and saw the counselor. I talked to my parents. I remember opening up to my parents about it and just talking about how I felt and basically just listing off those thoughts that I just expressed to you that I was having in the bathroom. And luckily enough, I have parents that have always been extremely supportive and were able to support me in whatever I was going through and never pushed my mental health to the side like it wasn't a big deal. I'm extremely grateful for that. Thank you, Mom and Dad. I'll bring some tears to my eyes with that one. So I also went and spoke to the counselor. I assume that was probably my parents doing, is to push me to go speak to the counselor. Once again, thank you for doing that, Mom and Dad. And I went and spoke to her. She became my new best friend. That's a joke, but no, I'm just meaning we talked all the time. I mean, I was in her office at least once a week, if not much more. And her name was Jessica Newkirk. I will give her a shout out because she's amazing and definitely helped me out a lot. Just to be able to unleash that burden, all those feelings I was bottling up inside for so freaking long. And I was able to just spill it to my parents, spill it to my counselor, tell them what I was feeling. Like, honestly, just doing that made me feel so much better. Like, it didn't cure my social anxiety by any stretch of the imagination, but that just released so much that I was holding in. And that's what made it bearable for me to get through those 3 years and graduate and not just feel completely shitty about myself. So, skipping ahead, I do end up graduating. Like I said, I graduated with the help of that support cast that I had, my parents, counselor. Those are the people I talked to. They definitely helped me get to the point where I could, actually graduate and be functionable. I got back to that somewhat comfortable, functionable state where I could, coast through the rest of the way. So I graduate high school. One more little funny story. This is how bad it was for me. I graduated high school. I remember at the graduation, my mom was like, "You want to like find your friends, like get some pictures?" And I was like, "No, no, I don't really have any friends here. Let's just leave. Get me out of here, man." So I'm out of here, and I get into Indiana University Southeast to go to college. and I'm still struggling with social anxiety. It's gotten a little bit better, a little bit more bearable, just because of that support system I created and being able to unleash that and not bottling in as much as my feelings as I know I was in the past. But I knew I was still struggling. So I think it was freshman year was when I started, or I don't know. It wasn't like I didn't know I had social anxiety at the point, or that I was even feeling anxiety at the point. But I remember talking with my counselor there, who was helping me pick some classes that I was supposed to do, and I remember he was telling me like I'd do some electives. I had to pick one of two, and I don't remember what one of. Let's say it was geography or public speaking class. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm going to make myself do public speaking because I need to get good at this. And if I'm ever going to get to the point I want to get to. And so I did that class. And that was probably actually the first instance of me ever willingly going out of my comfort zone. And it got me to the point where I could actually somewhat speak in person, at least 10 times better than I was back in high school. My God. And yeah, I mean, that was an extremely uncomfortable class, but it put me out of my comfort zone every single day, because every single day we got in there, we had to speak. Every single day we had to get up, and he would just pick a topic, and we would just have to, everyone would have to take turns talking on it, and it'd be like 1 or 2 minutes. But just doing that made me start to get a little bit comfortable. And so I'm going through my freshman year, I'm still struggling. That public speaking class didn't eliminate my social anxiety by any means. And at this point, I have my own apartment. I'm living with an old high school friend of mine from my private school. And I remember walking into my apartment one day and thinking, I just had this thought pop in my head. And I'm a religious person, I'm a religious Christian. And so I believe it was God telling me this, but you can believe whatever you want. Maybe it was just intuition, or that doesn't make sense, but the universe or whatever popping something in my head. But I could just hear it like in my head. I was like, Kyle, you got to do something about this, man. Like, you can't just feel pity for yourself and expect anything to happen. Like, that will never produce results. And that's when it just kind of clicked for me. It was like, right, I agree. Like, I've been, feeling bad for myself and hating the life that I was having. But I wasn't doing anything to change about it. I have no right to be pitiful over myself. Like, let's go and do something. So I remember that same night after I had that thought, I got on my computer in my room, was like trying to Google some stuff. And yeah, I don't even really remember what I got from other people telling me, but I remember it ended up me coming back to a conversation I had with my dad when I was in high school. And it was this. He was telling me that, I don't know if he had social anxiety or not or whatever, but he said he was shy, wasn't good at talking with people. Just the same thing I was struggling with for sure. It was a big part of my social anxiety. And so he was telling me like, hey, what I did was I went to school, learned to be a craps dealer at a casino. He was living in Las Vegas at the time. He's like, I started dealing craps. So if you've ever been to a casino, or especially in Las Vegas, you can understand the high intensity of being at a casino, and you're having to talk with all these different people, and you're having to trying to get people to place bets, and it's a high pressure environment. You have to be able to talk to people. You can't just sit there in silence. So he was telling me about how he did this, And, he did this for a while, and then he was good to talk to people after that because he'd done it so much. He faced those thoughts about himself so much and proved them wrong that he could do this, and just basically kept dipping the toe in. And he was good. Like, he didn't struggle with talking to people or being shy anymore. So yeah, after doing that for a while, he said that helped him. And he was trying to tell me, at the time when I was in high school, that, I should put myself out there, do something, that's out of my comfort zone at school, join a group or club or sports team. Which at the time I was like, no, no, I didn't want to be uncomfortable. I didn't want to do that. I just always had that hope in my head, like, there's got to be an easier way to do it. There's got to be an easy way to fix this problem I have, which, spoiler alert, there isn't. I mean, it may not be the exact same thing that I did, but spoiler alert, there's no easy way to overcome social anxiety or change the direction in which you make decisions in your life, and where social anxiety doesn't play a part. As not an easy way to do it. I just want to throw that disclaimer out there real quick. So, and that's when I knew. I was like, all right, I'm committed at this point. I said to myself, I will do anything and everything to stop feeling like this, because I do not want to feel like this the rest of my life. I don't want to be 50 feeling like this. And I started, like, playing that out in my head. Like, I don't want to be feeling this for like 30 years or, 50, 60 years. And so, and that's why I told myself I'm going to do anything and everything. And so I automatically knew what my little thing I could do to put myself out of my comfort zone was. And it had to do with classes I was taking and a problem I was kind of already having, which was participation grade. So in every class in college, they took participation grade, which took out a decent percentage of your grade. I mean, usually somewhere between 10 as high as 20% of your grade for participation. And which would be great if it was just attendance, but that's not what it was. Like, that was a very small part of that participation grade. You actually had to, interact in class. You had to raise your hand, ask questions, just be a part of the class discussion and actually learn, which I didn't do that. So I was doing terribly in that part, to the point where I had to overcompensate on tests and make sure I did really good on that, on the homework and tests and all that stuff, so I could overcompensate my terrible participation grade I was about to get for the semester in each of my classes. So I was like, all right, that's what I can do. This is like a win-win for me. I'll raise my participation grades, and at the same time, maybe this will help with my social anxiety a little. So my challenge was to do this, and it was to raise my hand and answer a question, participate in discussion in every single class in whatever way possible, one time every class. And I chose one time because if I did anything bigger than one, it would have been so overwhelming that I wouldn't have been able to do it. And I knew one was already pretty close to overwhelming for me. So I can remember the first time I ever did this was in a marketing class. It was in an auditorium style classroom setting. It's probably my biggest class, honestly. And I remember I hesitated and I procrastinated all the way to the near end of class because I was so anxious about raising my hand. I remember my leg was shaking, my heart was beating out of my chest. I could just feel it. Dun, 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 dun. And, I was just having those thoughts of like, I don't want to ask something stupid. People are going to be wondering, like, why is he, all of a sudden asking questions? This kid never talks. And, I was having all that stuff. And I eventually just raised my hand and I said something I don't even remember, but I did it. And I remember as soon as I got done doing it, I just felt so good about myself. I was like, like I did something. I did something out of my own free will that was uncomfortable for me, that makes me extremely anxious, I did that. And so after I did that, I was like, I'm gonna reward myself. So I started attaching rewards to these challenges. And so I told myself, as long as I did it, I would, reward myself with an hour of playing Xbox before I started on my homework once I got back to my apartment. And so and why that's important, let me get into that before I go any further. Why that's important to reward yourself is because it makes it a little bit more fun. You're not just torturing yourself, you give yourself some sort of reward, whether it's a special drink, not talking alcoholic, I'm talking, a sweet tea or whatever. Maybe you get something for lunch that you don't usually splurge out and buy. But for me, it was as simple as doing, having that hour of Xbox time before homework, because I was extremely disciplined in that setting, and it's where I never played before I did my homework. I always made sure I did all that stuff first. So even when things didn't go the way I wanted to, I still rewarded myself with that hour of time. And it's something that Jeremy and I, if you've been listening for a while, you've heard us say this 1,000 times: effort over results. So, I mean, I can remember at least one time where I raised my hand. I tried to answer a question. I thought I was right. I'm starting to build some confidence. They're like, no. That's what I remember feeling like, it didn't feel good. But, I still rewarded myself when I got home because I still did it. Like, I can't expect to be perfect or have everything go the way I want it to. And so after doing this challenge for, I don't know, several weeks, 4, 5, 6 weeks probably, I did not have any anxiety about raising my hand at all. This is no exaggeration at all. I mean, none. I didn't feel it at all. I mean, to the point where I was actually excited to get to class and raise my hand and contribute and discuss, because I'm in college about stuff that I care about and that interests me. So I'm already, my core self, I want to talk about that, but my social anxiety is holding me back and, producing these thoughts. But, I got to the point where I was at my core self at that point, and I was like, I was raising my hand 4 or 5 times to class. I'm literally the number one, what do you want to call it? The participator. I'm like the number one student, like asking and answering all questions as far as like the amount of time. Like that was me. That was me, dude. And I felt so good after that. Like it got to the point where I was like, this is cool. Like, holy shit, this is cool. Like, I cannot believe I am able to do this now, and this doesn't bother me at all. Like, this is fucking dope. Like, oh, let's go. Like, let's figure out something else I need to do. So I was like, all right, on to the next challenge. I was also working at Pizza Hut, delivering pizzas while I was in college, and it was summertime. We got to wear shorts when it was summertime. Only the drivers could wear shorts. And so I knew what my next challenge would be, and it would have to do with something to bring attention to myself. So I had these really cool camo Miami Hurricanes socks. I'm a big sports fan. They're my favorite college football team. Anyways, I bought these a while ago, and I never wore them though. I mean, I did wear them, but it was like with jeans. So nobody else could see. I didn't want to wear, I didn't want to be that person wearing shorts, the long socks. And that's what these were. These were super, long socks. And I was like, all right, that's my challenge. I got to wear long socks every day to work. So that's what I started doing. I started buying some socks, some little crazy funky stuff to wear, and I started wearing them every day. And I quickly realized that all these thoughts that I had in my head of what people were going to think about these socks that I was wearing, and I was kind of crazy and all this nonsense going in my head. that none of that shit was true. None of it at all. So it was actually like a blessing. Like, it stirred conversation between me and my coworkers instead of me being a little bit standoffish and kind of isolated. Like, people approach me and talk to me and like, oh, I like your socks. And, it started conversation. I mean, even delivering pizzas, I'd be walking up to people's doors and, they comment on my socks and like loving them. And, be asking me like where I got to get in these like little mini conversations that I usually never got into as a delivery driver. And I mean, I have no way of proving this, but I believe it increased my tips. Like I said, no way of proving that, but it was a blessing. I got something out of it that I never thought I would have. But the same thing happened as just like when I was raising my hand, that feeling went away. Like, I don't care about the socks anymore. I stopped caring. Like, I realized like that was just some stupid thoughts in my head. Like, that shit's just not true. Like, nobody cares about what socks I'm wearing. Nobody freaking cares. And even more importantly, I like the socks. Why am I not wearing clothes that I like? Like, what's wrong with that? And so I just, I kept wearing that stuff. And one, I realized no one cared. And two, I owned it and was like, this is me, man. I love these socks. Like, and I just kind of like grew into that and kind of like being my own self in my own unique way. And it's something that I still wear to this day. I see right now, oh, these socks aren't appropriate, but the socks I got on right now are just like a bunch of different little drinks. Looks like like a like cartoon versions, like a little beer mug, a little martini or something. But I just wear funky socks every single day. Like, I don't own another pair of socks other than like long, funky, crazy, eye-catching socks. And I wear them because one, I love wearing them. Like, that is me. Like, that's just like my piece. Like, that's just who I am. And two, is just like a reminder for me, like where I've been. I can look at my socks and say, this used to scare the living shit out of me to wear these in public. Now I just wear them, no problem at all. And so I just continued to keep doing these little challenges, whether it be stuff like that or just like social challenges. And, me and Jeremy share some familiarity or similarity on that as far as these little social challenges we did. We both did stuff like that to be able to get to the point where we're at now with social anxiety and not controlling our lives. So we just kept doing this stuff and we continue to do this stuff. I mean, even though I don't struggle with social anxiety today, I mean, I still do this stuff. Like, even today, I found this, like, I don't even know where it came from. This little fox. I wish I should have brought it up here if you're watching the video, but I didn't. But I found this, like, say like a beanie, but it's a fox on the head. It looks like you have a fox's head on your head. And then it has like these two strands that come down that are like little paws. It looks absolutely ridiculous. But I have been wearing it all day as I'm taking my kids to and from preschool, going inside the Y. And guess what? I mean, I even feel a little anxious about it at first, like wearing it. I was like, I kind of feel like an idiot wearing this, but that's why I'm going to do it. So, I mean, like, I went in, I checked in at the Y, and they're doing our temperature checks and all that stuff. And the guy doing it, he didn't act like he even saw it on my head. No one cares. And if they do, who cares what they think? It's all about what you think about you. And I love the heck out of myself, man. Ain't nobody's opinion ever going to change what I think about myself. I love the heck out of myself. And if you hate me, that's all right, man. I mean, nothing I can do to change your opinion. I mean, if you think I'm weird, that's all right. If you don't like what I do, if you don't like how I dress, I mean, sorry, I guess. I mean, I don't care. That's fine with you. I mean, there's people I just don't care for either. I mean, it's just part of it. No one's gonna, not everyone is going to like you, and that's just how it is. And So that's, that's how I got to where I am now, is just doing these little challenges over and over and over again consistently. And along with that, after doing that a lot and continuing to do that, I put a little bit more emphasis on my own mental health and doing morning routines, which if I ever do another solo one of these, I'll probably talk about that. I'm writing a book on it right now, which has completely changed my life. And even after overcoming social anxiety, doing morning routines and taking care of my mental health has brought me to a whole other level. So I'll definitely talk about that some more. But yeah, I hope that's provided some context for you guys and kind of, who I am, what this podcast is about. Obviously, it's not just about social anxiety; it's mental health in general. That's what we strive for. We're here to help you. Obviously, I have a soft spot in my heart for people with social anxiety struggling. I mean, that's the people I want to help for sure. And I love going in schools and organizations and just talking about it, because I don't want to, I hate that people feel the way I did. And if I can help you with that stuff, oh man, I'd love to do so. So if you are struggling with social anxiety, I'm going to do a little plug for you, because I think this is extremely powerful and it's something I put a lot of time into. If you're struggling with social anxiety and you are tired of living the way you are living right now, you're tired of not being able to talk to people, you're tired of feeling anxious all the time, you're tired of having all these stupid thoughts, and you're not sure how to not get rid of them or how to change them is really the proper term I'd like to use. Come enroll in the academy I have created. It is called the Social Anxiety Warrior Academy, and it's socialanxietywarrioracademy.com. And it is a 6-week course where I go through and I teach you exactly what I did to be able to overcome my social anxiety. And no, it's not all just doing uncomfortable challenges. A lot of it is like building yourself up to where you need to be able to be able to achieve these social challenges. I mean, 3 big topics on there are building your self-love, building your self-confidence, building your self-esteem. Imagine yourself if you had high on all of those selves that I just talked about, the confidence, the esteem, and the self-love. If you were high on all those levels, do you think you'd have social anxiety? I don't think so. So I focus a lot on that. So yeah, please go to, if you're struggling, like seriously, let me help you. I would be ecstatic to be able to help you. I love helping people out. I've helped a lot of people have gone through the course already. You can see some testimonials on there. Life change, man. Wow. And it's incredible to see still, like just me, like when I get messages from people and they say how much that's helped and how they've been able to overcome social anxiety. And I want to do that for you. So please go check that out. You can enroll in, try it out 7 days free, get that first week. And then after that, it's just $50, which my God is a steal. $50 to get through the biggest struggle in your life. More than likely seems like one hell of a deal. But like I said, I want to make this accessible, especially during COVID times, people losing their jobs, all that sort of stuff. So please go check that out. Also, if you're interested in any kind of one-on-one coaching, and this can be via texting or a video call or just over the phone, whatever you're comfortable with. Of course, we'll move up as we go along. But if you're interested in that as well, you can just DM me on Instagram. My name is Social Anxiety Kyle, underscores in between each word. But you can probably just type in Social Anxiety Kyle and you'll find me on Instagram. I mean, that's all I focus on. And my account is just posting different tips and tricks and stuff you can do to help with social anxiety. So if you want to start there, go for it. On some last little bit of notes here, and then I got to head off here. I know you're so sad. I know. But please go to our new Social Ninjas website. We just redesigned the whole thing. We have a lot in store and planned for making it better and providing some really awesome resources and content on there for you. But that's the Social Ninjas podcast.com. And please take the survey we have on there. This is something that's just for the listeners, you guys. We want to know more about you. We really want to know some more about your interests. You know, what content are you looking for? We want to make sure we're providing the right advertisers for you guys, stuff that's going to be helpful. And a big thing is content, of course. What do you want to know more about? And so all that information really helps us. Obviously, we keep this private. We don't share or sell information. Hopefully, you know, we wouldn't do anything like that. Other than that, please go follow our Instagram page. It's something we've really been putting an emphasis on and kind of building that up. So that's the Social Ninjas on Instagram, underscore in between all the words. Also, you can join our Facebook group. It's called the Social Ninjas Podcast group. Join that as well. Got some community going in there, and that's starting to build as well. Thank you guys for staying on with me and listening through this whole podcast. I hope this has brought some value. I've had fun, even though it's just been me talking to a camera. But I just kind of pretend like you're there listening to me, like this is a live thing. But I love talking about my story. I love talking about this stuff. And like I said, if you are struggling with social anxiety, please, 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 please reach out to me. Do not wait another day. Don't put it off. Do it right now. Come ask for help. That's the number one step to overcoming this thing, man. Don't let it control your life any longer. Come on, ask for help. So thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you all next week in a few days.